Oh, hey, John. Finally speaking, when you talk about the prerequisites, we require some basic information on networking fundamentals and Linux commands. But since not everyone is from a technical background, what we have done is we have included those prerequisites as well in the course. So we'll be learning basic fundamentals of networking, Linux commands, virtualization. Again, we'll learn how to install the lab setup. And then we start the actual certified ethical hacking course. So the only thing you would require for this course is a device with, again, a storage of at least 100 gigabytes of free storage and at least 8 gigs of RAM, because we'll be running a lot of virtual machines and some other operating systems. So that amount of storage and RAM will be required on your device for the entire lab setup. Okay. So let's get started without any further ado, guys. I think that everyone's here. Now, before we do so, a quick formal introduction on my end. My name is Mohammed Shoaib. And again, I am currently working as a senior penetration tester based in Visakhapatnam, India. And I've been working in this domain for the last 6+ years. Again, I've been training for the last 5 years at least. Okay. And again, the demo we are taking up today is on a course called Certified Ethical Hacking, latest version 30. Okay, when I started my journey in cybersecurity as well, I started with the same course, Certified Ethical Hacking. This has been there for the last 15 years, I would say. Okay. And it is from an organization called EC Council, one of the best, again, globally recognized organizations for trainings and certifications in the domain of cybersecurity. Okay. So again, the learning curve always starts from this course called Certified Ethical Hacker, currently running version 30. So these are all the modules available in it. If I scroll down, this is the course outline. And we're following the exact same curriculum, which is mentioned as such in the EC Council official page. Okay. And let me explain what the course is about. Excuse me. Okay. So, and again, please do not hesitate to let me know if you have a query, guys, in between. I do not mind any interruptions. You can raise your hand or you can just drop a text or voice message to let me know if something is not, again, if you have any queries, if you don't understand something. Okay. So, when you talk about this course, let's start the demo with the definition of the name of the course itself. What is hacking and what is ethical hacking and how are they different from one another? Because a lot of students have a misconception that they are one and the same. So let's clarify that. Okay. So when you talk about hacking, guys, this is basically the procedure of trying to gain access to information systems. So if I were a hacker, and let's say if I've gained access to your devices, your phone or your laptop or your, let's say, your organization's infrastructure, it basically means I have complete control over those devices. I can steal your information, I can destroy your information, I can sell your information to other people. Okay, do what I want with it. Okay. And most of the cases, this is for my own personal benefit, okay, or financial benefit, or sometimes hackers even do it just for fun. Okay. So hacking is a procedure of trying to gain access to any information system, as small as a mobile phone to as big as a web application server or a database or the entire cloud infrastructure of the organization without the permission and without the knowledge of the person or the company owning those systems. Okay. And this is usually performed by hackers for their own benefit. Once they've gotten access to those devices, they can then again basically do whatever they want with that data. Okay. Now, if hacking is such a malicious activity, why do we have a course called ethical hacking? And how is this getting ethical in the first place? To define ethical hacking, on the other hand, this is the procedure of trying to find vulnerabilities. This terminology called vulnerability is something that will keep coming across a lot in the upcoming sessions. To define it, it's a loophole, it's a flaw in the security of the organization or the information systems. And our job is to find these loopholes or vulnerabilities with the consent and with the knowledge of the company owning those systems. Why do we need to find those? Because hackers also, or cyber criminals also, look for the same vulnerabilities itself. And once they find the vulnerability, they take advantage of it, they exploit it, and they get access to our devices. So our job is to find those vulnerabilities much before they do and report it back to the company so that they can apply the necessary security updates. And once those security updates or patches have been applied, no more exploitation can occur, and thereby you're protecting the entire organization from cyber threats or any harm. Excuse me, just a bit sick today. So yeah, To define ethical hacking, as mentioned, it is a procedure of trying to gain access, sorry, trying to find vulnerabilities which could allow hackers to gain access to these systems. And this is done with the consent and with the knowledge of the organization owning those systems. And once we find those vulnerabilities, we report it back, we remediate the vulnerabilities and see to it that no other hackers can misuse that. Okay. So depending on these two definitions, we can categorize the types of hackers. There's someone known as a white hat hacker, a gray hat hacker, and a black hat hacker. There's a few other categories as well, but these are the most commonly known hackers in the world today. Your black hat hackers are typical cyber criminals. These are people who perform hacking for their own benefit or for fun without asking for consent. On the other end of the spectrum, we have white hat hackers, or the other extreme, someone who abides by the laws and policies of the company and they work for securing the company's again infrastructure, okay, the entire organization's devices and their endpoints, okay, or their applications as well. And in between, there's a third mysterious category called gray hat hackers. Now, these are people who have both the qualities of black hat as well as white hat. So, like a black hat hacker, they don't ask for permission first. They don't basically perform everything in an ethical manner. But once they find the vulnerability, they report it back to the company rather than misusing it. But there's a minor catch again. They don't do this for free. They do it in return for a bounty. A bounty is like a financial reward they expect in return for reporting that vulnerability without misusing it. Okay. So therefore, they are performing both again hacking as well as ethical hacking offensively and defensively at various times. Hence, they are known as grey hat hackers. Okay. There's another very commonly known name given to them called bug bounty hunters. They hunt for bugs in return for a bounty. Okay, hence the name bug bounty hunters. Okay. Now, no matter what category of a hacker you take here, black hat hackers or grey hat hackers or white hat hackers, they perform hacking or ethical hacking in a certain procedure. And that procedure is called as cyber kill chain. In my organization, when I perform pen testing, this is the same procedure that I follow as well till date. It is a well-established framework to find vulnerabilities and report vulnerabilities in the most efficient way possible. Okay. So this is a procedure that hackers follow actually in order to perform a successful cyber attack. Okay. So when this procedure is followed, the probability of an attack being successful is very, very high. Okay. And the same knowledge also allows cyber security professionals to understand how these attacks are occurring, to detect these attacks at the earliest time possible, and to prevent them as well at every level in the organization. Yeah. Because unless and until you know what kind of attacks are possible or how these attacks are being made possible, you would not know how to prevent them or what defense mechanisms to apply and where to apply. Okay. So as a cyber professional, you will learn ethical hacking by basically first simulating the attacks of a hacker itself. Okay. You'll attack the systems in the same exact way like an actual cyber criminal. And then once you know what the vulnerabilities are, then you try to remediate them, you try to patch them up. Okay. So it's just like the concept of you playing one part of thief and one part of police, trying to replicate or simulate the same procedure that a thief would follow or how he would think like, okay, to understand how the attack might have occurred and how you can prevent that in future cases. Okay. So now, when you talk about cyber kill chain, again, this is a well-established framework. I think this was invented by the US military in the early 1990s or so. Okay. And then slowly it kept on updating and updating, and people still follow this in their military circles as well. But in the cyber security circle, it has the same name, same framework, but slightly different application. Okay. So now, when you talk about cyber kill chain, that consists of five important stages in it. And this is what exactly we'll be learning in the entire course. First stage, information gathering. Second stage, scanning. Third stage, gaining access. Fourth stage, maintaining access. And the last stage, reporting or clearing traces. Okay. So first, when you talk about information gathering, this is also commonly known as reconnaissance or footprinting, guys. And the objective here is to obtain as much data as possible about your target organization or the target person as well. Okay. Before you launch an attack, the most important thing is you research okay, data about that person or about that organization. Okay. An important point to note is all of this data is obtained passively. What I mean by passively is you obtain this data from third-party sources, from various third-party sources without contacting the person or the organization. But the main question that arises here is what kind of information are you trying to gather? What data do you need actually here? Okay. And this here is the information as follows. You need the IP addresses, the network blocks, the who's records, the DNS records, domains and subdomains, operating system information, employee details, contact numbers of the employees, email addresses of the employees, and usernames and passwords as well, which might have been leaked online in various data breaches. Now, believe it or not, all of this information is readily available on the internet. And in the upcoming sessions, once we start our course, I'll be showing you what those websites are, what those resources are from where you can obtain that data. Okay. Now, if I show you a very simple example, let's say if I want the DNS records for any company, all I have to do is go to my browser and search for a website called DNS Dumpster. And here I can enter a domain of my choice. Let's say if I want information of the DNS records of Tesla.com or Wipro.com or Infosys.com, whatever. Just enter the domain name. And now this starts showing you all the DNS records, basically the linking between their servers and the exact IP address of which the server is located on. Okay. So every device on the internet has a unique address called an IP address. Again, these are all the public IPs of those exact servers on which these websites are hosted. Okay. These are all your web servers. Then you have your DNS servers. Oh, just a second. You have DNS servers, you have again the text records to get information, the configuration information on those servers at times, which might sometimes include sensitive data. Okay. So again, this is the entire network topology of the organization. Okay. So as a hacker or an ethical hacker, these IP addresses are very crucial to you because on these IPs itself, you will be performing the upcoming stages of the attack, which is scanning or so. Okay. Now you might have a question, why is the organization leaking this information or giving out this information so openly, right? But no, not the port number from here. So then for port number, you'll be performing the next stage, which is nmap scanning. Okay. So that is the upcoming stage of the attack. So for performing the port scan, you need to know the IP address first. And that is what you have obtained here. So in cybersecurity, in all of these procedures, the outcome of the first stage will always be the input for the next stage. Okay. So here you're performing the information gathering. That IP address is going to be the input for the next stage. And from that, you get port information. Then from that, you might try to find out what vulnerabilities exist. And those vulnerabilities will be taken as the input for the next stage, which is exploitation. Okay. So it's one step at a time, right? So again, there are certain websites which can give you the port information as well. But rather than depending on websites for ports, we'll be using some other better tools, okay, inbuilt tools in operating system like Kali. Okay. So again, as mentioned, this is what your DNS dumpster website gives you. And you might have a question again, why is this information being leaked out by the company so openly? It's not being leaked. The company needs to give out this information. So when you want someone to reach your house, you have to give them your address. Okay. Without you giving them your address, you cannot let people, again, you cannot, again, enable people visiting your house, right? So similarly, when these websites are needed to be visited by the clients or the customers, this information needs to be given out. Their IP addresses are supposed to be given out. The condition is when you're inviting people to your house and you're giving out your address, the thing is your house should be secure no matter who it is visible to. Okay. So even if your house is visible, your house needs to be secure that even if you're not present in the house, no one can access it without your authorization. Right. So same thing when you have these servers which are giving out their IP address information, their exact source information, it doesn't mean it is wrong. It needs to be given out for clients to connect to it. But the point is, cybersecurity needs to be involved to see to it that these websites or these servers are not accessible in an unauthorized way. Okay, without proper prior permissions and consent, none of these servers, none of these websites, none of these IP addresses should be vulnerable and accessible. Okay. Any questions or doubts up to this point, guys, regarding information gathering? So this is one website again. There's multiple other websites as well. Okay. We'll be learning that in the upcoming sessions. Okay. So once you have obtained all this data, that data is used as the input for the next phase, as mentioned, scanning. So this is also commonly known as enumeration. Okay. And the main objective here is to get some extra data, but by making active connections. So earlier we got the data passively without making any contact. Here we'll be using certain tools and certain applications to get extra data from the servers, okay, or from these devices. Okay. And to understand scanning, we can break it down in three simple parts. There's something called as network scanning, port scanning, and vulnerability scanning. Network scanning is where you're trying to figure out in their internal organization what devices exist. So, are they using firewalls? Are they using intrusion detection systems or prevention systems, IDS, IPS? What kind of servers are they using? How many web servers do they have? How many DNS servers do they have? How many FTP servers do they have? Are they using SNMP servers, SMTP servers, mail servers? Okay. So, basically, getting their internal networking topology is network scanning. Once you know what devices exist in their organizations, on those devices you perform port scanning, figuring out what ports are open and what services are running on those ports. And finally, we perform vulnerability scanning, where we try to figure out on these services, are there any vulnerabilities which you can attack on? So during this phase, we'll be working on two very important tools. One is called Nmap, which is known as a network mapper. This has been there since 1997. Okay, and it is still one of the best tools available for performing network and port scanning. Completely open source. Anyone can use it for free. And a lot of commercial tools also use Nmap in their source code. Okay, since it's open source. Then the other one, now the other one called Enable Nessus here. This is the other one, which is for vulnerability scanning. But this is not free in any way. This is a paid application and quite an expensive application as well. So if you scroll down, you can see it's around $7,000. Not rupees again, dollars for 1 year subscription. And that too. And the company needs to purchase these licenses to use these tools. Okay. Don't worry. Luckily, they're trial versions. And for applications that we don't have trial versions, we'll either go with the open source alternatives or with the cracked versions. I'll be showing you all these practicals or the operations on real time tools. No theory nonsense. Okay. Everything we learn in the class, all the operations we perform will be with the tools that are used in the organizations in real time. These are the same tools which we use in our organization as well. Okay. And hence I'm going to show you the hands-on implementation of these operations with these tools. Okay. So once we have performed network scanning, port scanning, and vulnerability scanning, and once you know what vulnerabilities exist, then comes gaining access, the phase where the real hacking occurs. Okay. So attackers now use these vulnerabilities which are found in the earlier phases to attack the system or the application or the entire network. Okay. So now this is the entire, again, a brief overview of the gaining access module. Now, I might not be able to explain everything in detail here, but the main agenda for this module here or for gaining access phase is to attack every single endpoint to know how to attack or what kinds of attacks are possible on these endpoints and what are the defense strategies. Okay. We learn system hacking, we learn malware attacks, we learn malware and malicious softwares, we learn network attacks, okay, man in the middle attack, denial of service attack, hacking Wi-Fi routers. Okay, all of this is related to network pen testing. Then you have social engineering. How do hackers perform phishing attacks? Okay, create fake emails and send them to the victims to get their credential information. How do you attack web servers in the backend? How do you attack web applications on the front end? How do you evade or bypass security measures? If the organization has firewalls, intrusion detection systems, intrusion prevention systems, how do you prevent that? Okay, or how do you bypass those? Then there's vulnerability assessment. If you get a vulnerability from the tool like Nessus, if it shows that the certain system contains certain vulnerability, how do you assess it? How do you verify it? Okay, and check if it is true or false positive. And finally, how do you attack Android or mobile phones? Okay, iOS is not included. There's a separate course altogether for it, but don't worry, I'll be providing it as a bonus concept in this course. Okay. So again, as mentioned, that's the main objective of this module. Once you know what vulnerabilities exist or what are possible, what attacks are possible on every endpoint, how do you practically figure it out and check if it is working or not? Okay, system security, network security, wireless security, web server security, web application security, firewall security, mobile phone security. All of these are what are supposed to be known by a penetration tester or an ethical hacker. And that's what we'll be learning in this topic. Once that is done, Then you have two small modules left out, which is, excuse me, maintaining access and reporting or clearing traces. So when you talk about maintaining access, this is where hackers try to maintain persistent connections. Okay. So persistent connections in the sense, basically you trying to get a connection to the system, even if the system reboots itself. Okay. So even if let's say if I've attacked your phone or your computer, and even if you restart your device, I should still stay connected to you. That's what maintaining access is. Okay. And once that is obtained, hackers can perform any sort of operation on your device because they are connected to your system indefinitely. Okay. And finally, there's reporting or clearing traces where we learn as an ethical hacker, how do you generate a report for the organization, elaborate the vulnerabilities, provide the solutions, okay, and show them how to remediate them or how to remove those vulnerabilities. On the other hand, if you're a cyber criminal, you won't be performing any of that. You steal data or you destroy data, and then you remove the evidence of those actions. You delete the logs on the target and stay anonymous or untraceable. Okay, that is clearing traces. So this is the entire five-step process, okay, which is also shown in the same CEH version 13 EC Council curriculum. Okay, so if I go back here, okay, this is the same exact modules that are shown over here. But again, that is divided in these different smaller subcategories. If you see, this is the entire course outline. So introduction, then footprinting or reconnaissance, scanning and enumeration, and then these are all the topics related to the gaining access module. Okay. So this is all of this is gaining access. And finally, with every module, we'll also have the reporting or clearing traces part as well. Okay. So yeah, that's a brief overview on what the course is about, guys. We have the course again. I think it's starting from tomorrow itself, if I'm not wrong. And if I remember correctly, the course timing is 8 p.m. I suppose this time. We started a morning batch the other week, and this week we are starting an evening batch. Yeah, 8 p.m. if you notice. Okay. So yeah, that's a brief overview, guys. If you have any questions or doubts, you can let me know now. Chandan, Rahul, Subhana, Varad. Hi, Varad. I think you've joined a bit late. I just concluded the session though. Yeah, guys, any questions or doubts, please do not hesitate to let me know what your questions are. And as mentioned, the classes start from tomorrow itself. We'll have the first class on the prerequisite, what are networking fundamentals tomorrow. That is an important topic required for cybersecurity. So all the prerequisites are included in the course. You don't need to learn anything anywhere else. Okay. All of it is included. The tools will be provided. The presentation documents will be provided. The recordings will be provided. Okay. And again, this is a course for a duration of 35 days where we have classes from Monday to Friday, every day for 1 hour each. Okay. And you'll also be getting my personal number as well. Once you've registered for the classes, you get my number, and you can again we'll have a WhatsApp group for all the students. Okay, and any doubt clarification can be discussed there as well once the batch is confirmed with all the students. Okay, so yeah, that's that. Nothing further. Any questions or doubts up to this point? Chandan, Rahul, Subhana, Varad. As mentioned, 35 days, of course, Rahul. So around 30, 32 classes in total, including again all the weekends and stuff as well, 35, 40 days. Right. Any other questions, guys? Okay. Assuming no questions, guys, we can exit the session. We'll disconnect here. And please do join back tomorrow. Tomorrow is the first class for the course. It starts at 8 p.m. in the evening. And the link for that has also been mentioned in the chat box. Let me drop it again. Here's the link for the demo from tomorrow. Again, as mentioned, yeah, we'll be learning mobile pen testing itself, Rahul. So once you have the mobile pen testing topic, you're getting the complete control to the phone and all the applications within it as well. So yeah, right. Okay, guys. One last time, any questions or doubts for anyone else? Okay. Assuming no questions, we can exit the session. Thanks for joining the session today, guys. I'll be connecting back with you tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Okay, for the next class. Bye. Good day. Thank you, guys. Bye.